Started. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where it is that you're calling in from. Welcome to May's installment of our Insiders Only webinar. Today's topic, 5 things that are killing your email deliverability. So why don't we go ahead and get started. Oops. Just a few housekeeping notes before we do get started. You are all on mute. We really do that to preserve the sound quality of the recording. If you have a question, please use that control panel to ask your question during any time during the webinar. And this webinar will be posted to our marketing help desk. If you want to go ahead and go back and listen to it, you'll also find our other insider only webinars on the marketing help desk as well. My name is Erica Rich, and I am the Hospitality Marketing Strategist here at Revenate. And if this is your first time joining one of these webinars, just a few quick notes about them. We do these once a month. We try to keep them short and sweet. They usually run about 15 to 20 minutes. Each month, we're covering a new topic, a different best practice. This is something that we like to keep available to Revenate marketing customers only. Again, this recording will be available on the help desk under marketing/insiders only webinars, and you'll find all of our other recordings there as well. And of course, you are a member of the insider community, and I do hope you take advantage of all that includes. I hope you receive our monthly newsletter where we have everything from updates, blog posts, feature enhancements to the product, so on and so forth. Of course, we have our Insiders Corner blog, these webinars, and we always like to highlight our Insider Campaign of the Month, where we hope you can learn from others in the community and find some inspiration. Again, this is something that we like to make available to our Revenate marketing customers only. So why don't we go ahead and dive right into the topic du jour, and that is all about your deliverability. First, I'd want to take a moment just to help define delivery versus deliverability. I think that these definitions can get swapped, or these words can be used interchangeably, but really they mean very different things. So delivery is the acceptance rate of all mail accepted by the mailbox provider. So it's every bit of mail that actually goes through. But guess what? That could actually mean that it landed right into your spam folder. While deliverability is the amount of mail that actually gets delivered to the inbox. So those email campaigns that actually reach the inbox. And that's really what we're talking about today. We're talking about this, and it's important because, excuse me, according to Return Path, only 79% of promotional emails sent by global email marketers actually reach the correct inbox. Only 79%. And that's across the entire world. And actually, it's lower here in the US, where it's about 73%. So we do like to spend quite a bit of time teaching and training on email deliverability best practices, because we certainly want to make sure that our customers are above that mark. So it's hard to talk about deliverability without really talking about your reputation. Again, deliverability is how you measure the success of your email campaigns reaching the inbox without bouncing or being marked as spam. And this really all comes down to your sender reputation or your sender score, and that is a trust indicator used by mailbox providers to determine which emails get delivered to inboxes and which ones go straight to the spam filters. And sender reputation is really based off of the following: how many bounces that email resulted in, were any spam filters actually flagged, and what was the quality of the engagement that your recipients had with the actual emails. So all of these factors really go into what makes up your sender reputation. And of course, the worse your sender reputation, the hardest it's going to be to get your emails delivered into the inboxes. So today we're going to go over the 5 things that you may or may not be doing that are impacting your deliverability. and they are all going to fall into one of these three categories, whether it's resulting in bounces, the spam filters, or not really necessarily getting the engagement that you are looking for. So the first thing that you may be doing to kill your deliverability is sending to unknown users. An unknown user is a recipient that never existed, has been terminated by the mailbox provider, or was actually abandoned by the end user. Think about that first email address you created maybe when you were back in college. You're probably not using that name anymore, but it could still be out there. It could still be active. It's just been abandoned. So in a very, very perfect world, your email list only includes those who are actively engaged with your brand. They want to receive your emails. Of course, that's probably not all that realistic, but you do want to do your best to have as clean a list as possible. If you have poor list quality, mailbox providers will actually filter or maybe even block all of your campaigns from even getting through. So a couple of things you can do to make sure that you have a really healthy list. My advice is to avoid sending to guests who haven't been on property in 2 years. Again, we're integrating with your PMS. We can see who hasn't been on property in the last 24 months or so. My recommendation is just to not include those in your campaigns. If you do, there's a very good chance that their email addresses are no longer valid, that they've been abandoned, and maybe they're not really interested in receiving campaigns from you because they're not all that engaged. If you're going to upload any contact lists, any outside contact lists to the marketing app, again, the recommendation is to go and actually scrub those lists. There's a lot of third-party email validation services out there. They don't cost a lot of money. Run your list through this. You could do it online and get rid of any invalid email addresses. Maybe they're incorrect. Maybe they've been abandoned. They can actually go ahead and see that, and they'll get rid of them. You really want to keep your unknown user rate below 2% to achieve high inbox placement. That's really how much it matters that you have a strong list. This month's blog post was actually all about unknown users, and I go into speaking a little bit more about spam traps and how to avoid those. So if you haven't had a chance to read it, please go to the Marketing Help Desk. You'll find the Insider's Corner blog there, and you can actually read a little bit more about the dangers of unknown users. Number 2, sending to unengaged recipients. This is, again, going to affect that low engagement score that the mailbox providers such as Gmail and Yahoo are really looking at when determining whether or not your email should get through to inboxes. Low open rates are actually a clear signal to those mailbox providers that your recipients aren't engaged with your brand or your content, are not engaged with your brand or content. This lack of engagement may lead to your campaigns being blocked by the mailbox providers. So one recommendation that we have here is you might want to consider targeting those recipients who have opened a campaign. And we actually make that really easy for you to do. When you go in and you're doing all your advanced targeting filters in the marketing app, you can actually send to only those folks who have actually opened a campaign in the last year, 6 months, whatever the case may be. And again, it's so important to keep sending emails to those folks who are engaged, because we know those are the ones that want to hear from you. And the more engagement, the more opens, the more clicks, the better chance you're going to have at getting your emails delivered. And once again, you might want to consider suppressing those who haven't been on property more than 24 months. Not only may those email addresses still be bad, but there's a very strong chance they're not interested in receiving your email, and they may not open it, but worse, they could unsubscribe, which is still a lot better than marking it as spam, which is the ultimate insult. Number 3, sending with too many images. Now, this is one that I think surprised people quite a bit, and we're going to talk about this because this can set off the spam filters. Sending one large image or many images with little text is actually a hallmark of spammers. They're trying to get some pretty bad content through those past the spam filters, and they do that by embedding it in images. So therefore, mailbox providers may look at campaigns that are one static image or a few static images and think that they're spam. So the best practice is really to stick to the 60-40 rule. 60% text to 40% image. Another reason why you want to avoid using too many images is because many email clients don't actually display images by default. If you're working with Outlook, you'll know that you have to right-click in order to download those images. And a lot of people obviously don't take the time to download those images. So you'll want to make sure that you're providing as much text as possible. So if the images don't download, folks will still understand what the point of the campaign is. And you'll always want to make sure you're using that alt text. So you can see in that image right there, we give you the opportunity every time you upload an image to add a caption, which is the alt text, the alternative text. So should that image not download, you can actually still see what the purpose of that picture was. So always use the alt text. And just to show you what I'm talking about, here's an example of a full text image. It is lovely, but it really doesn't look like an email. It looks a little bit more like a magazine ad or a flyer. This is not a correspondence received in someone's inbox, so keep that in mind. But again, it's a static image, which can be looked upon as spam. Here's an example that really sticks more to that 60-40 rule. You have the image, but then you have the text to really offset it. And this is just what mailbox providers are looking for when they're looking for credible, legitimate email campaigns. That brings us to number 4. Number 4 is sending inconsistently. So what do I mean by that? Again, this is going to really affect those spam filters. Random and erratic broadcast activity will lead to mailbox providers rejecting your IP. They may go ahead and just block all campaigns from reaching the inboxes. So to avoid this, you want to maintain a regular email schedule to avoid any spikes in volume and or frequency. So if you're going to stick to a schedule at least once a month, you don't want to go dark. You want to be consistent in how often you're sending. At least once a month, twice a month is even better. And if you can, do your best to try to send lists to approximately the same database size. So instead of going from 3,000 to 50,000, you might want to constantly be sending to groups of 10,000 or so. Steady, consistent, these are the hallmarks of credible email senders. So you'll definitely want to stick with that as much as you possibly can. And number 5, one thing you might be doing that is killing your email deliverability is sending to your entire database. And what this will do is actually result in some low engagement. And the reason for that is email marketing is not one size fits all. As much as we wish it were, it's not. You have to consider that every single email address in your database, it's not an email. There's actually a human being on the other side of that email address that has their own interests, their own needs, and different content is going to appeal to different people. If it's irrelevant, it's going to be completely ignored, or even worse, it's going to result in complaints, meaning people are going to mark it as spam. So you really want to do your best to segment your list. And the good news is there is so much data in your PMS to help you really send more customized, personalized campaigns. Just by targeting off of geography, rate code, their stay dates, or some simple ways that you can create more segmented lists and provide people with information that they'll truly care about. And that's really what we're talking about. Well, those are the 5 things that you may be doing that are killing your email deliverability. Like I said, I try to keep these things around 15 minutes, and I see we're right at the 16-minute mark. But with that, I want to open it up to any questions that we may have. Well, I don't see any right now, but I'll tell you what, please, I'll stay on the line for a little bit longer. Should you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording and wish you a very good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, again, depending on where you're calling in from. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.